Welcome to Flawed and Happy. I am so glad you are here. So, okay, I'm gonna move right along into a whole new series, recovery series. I actually have about 5 hours of recorded video already. I'm scratching it all and I'm starting all over, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. When I go and talk about my road of recovery and everything I've been through in order to get to where I am today, that involves and encompasses other people. And it is not my intentions to shame anybody, ridicule anybody, make anybody feel bad. That is not my intentions. It's not what I want to do. I did not name names in any of the previous videos whatsoever, but anybody that knows me is gonna know exactly who I'm talking about. So I just have to kind of rethink a little bit, just a little bit, about how I can reword that so that people don't get the impression that I'm just like, trying to throw some daggers at people, because that's not what I was trying to do. Maybe at one person. Maybe at one. I'm still flawed, you guys. Just because I'm clean and sober doesn't mean I don't have any resentments. So, all right, clean and sober, 8.5 years. August 23rd, 2010 is the last time that, that is the start of my recovery, but that is not day one of my recovery. I actually attempted and came into a recovery program back in 1998. I had 3 kids back in 1998, and I was 21 years old. And entering recovery for the very first time, I was clueless, I was scared, I was an idiot, I was dumb. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was smarter than everybody else. And giving up alcohol was the last thing that I even wanted to do. But at the same time, I also knew I didn't drink like other people. A majority of the other people that were around me. I was a blackout drinker, and I was a bulldozer when I drank, and I was a tornado when I drank. So yeah, I definitely didn't drink like a whole lot of other people. Alcohol was my drug of choice, but it was not the only means that I used to indulge by any means. I also did overindulge in chemicals, drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. If it could get me high, I would use it. So, but keep in mind, alcohol was my drug of choice, so that is a majority of what I am going to be talking about. Anything else was fairly easy for me to put down and walk away from. Alcohol, on the other hand, was that one was usually pretty tough for me to put down and walk away from. So just to give you a little bit of a rundown of who I am, where I come from. Let me just say, right now, as I am videoing this particular video right now today, I'm going to try really hard not to cry, because I'm in a pretty bad spot mentally and emotionally. I am, and I have been for a little while, most of the winter. It has been a very, very hard time for me and my family for a multiple different reasons. I would like to say we are probably in the tail end of it, but I don't know. You know what? I'm really glad I know how to live my life just one day at a time, because had I didn't, I wouldn't be taking these days the way I am, which is simply one day at a time. I do go through moments. I cried earlier today. I'm about ready to cry now. One thing about being in recovery is there's no guarantee that it's always going to be smooth. It's always going to be great. It's always going to go, just A-okay because you're finally doing the right thing. That isn't reality. What reality is you're finally able to live life on life's terms. You're finally able to take life the way life comes at you. Recovery is about being able to handle things on an emotional level that is healthy, it's mature, you know, and I am trying so incredibly hard to do that, believe me. I've been having to wear my glasses because, you know, I wear my contacts and then I cry and then they get foggy and, oh, it's just been a nightmare. But, so I'm just going to fill you in and tell you guys about one little aspect that we are dealing with. One of our very own out here, we have a family business, and one of our own has been doctoring for the last couple of years. He went in for another bone scan on Friday. This is Wednesday, so I'm last Friday. Monday, the results came back, and he does got bone cancer. And we kind of figured that for quite a while. The really frustrating part is he has been to 5 different hospitals, multiple different doctors, and finally on the 5th one, my husband actually had to get on the phone and do some screaming and hollering and threatened to come in there and was like, you know what, you guys need to be doing more. And that's when they finally scheduled the bone scan, and then it came back that, yeah, the bone cancer is there, you know, and now we go Friday, and we're going to find out what stage it is and what type of treatment we're going to be looking at. But if anybody knows anything about bone cancer, unless some stuff has changed within technology that I'm unaware of, bone cancer isn't fun by any means. And yeah, just research bone cancer. I don't even want to talk about it. So that's where we're at, and I'm sorry. I came into recovery at the age of 21 years old. Not believing I was an alcoholic and believing that I had the world by the ass and I knew it all. And nobody could tell me anything at all, period. And for the next 10 years, the road of the recovery that I was trudging, and I literally was trudging, and sometimes, boy, I'll tell you what, I was just like bopping across that pavement right on my ass. I was getting road rash like you would not believe, you know, and that is just the course that I took. I had multiple relapses. It took me 10 years to get one consecutive year of recovery. So to be sitting here today and telling you that I now have over 8.5 years, that is a miracle in and of itself. When I look back and I seen what the first 10 years for me was like, you know, and the people that know me, people that came in after I did, that now have, say, 12 years, 15 years, you know, 1998, I came into the program. This is 2019. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of people out there that came into the program after I did that have a lot more recovery time than what I do. It definitely took me a long time. I was very bullheaded. I was very stubborn. I knew it all. And I seriously did. Nobody else out there knew anything better than what I did because they were not living my life. They did not understand where I came from. They did not understand how I operated. That's my thinking. When I came into the program, I was too busy focusing on the differences and not even noticing the similarities. And unfortunately, I did that for so many years that it was a hindrance to my own healthy recovery. You know, so I maybe won't be throwing out there a whole lot of this is what you can do to recover, but I will definitely tell you a whole lot of what you shouldn't do, because a lot of those shouldn't do's I probably was doing. You know, and I don't tell you this for any other reason other than, you know, to just try to maybe be an example for you so you don't have to go there and do that yourself. Now, when I look back at, you know, the various instances of those 10 years that I was in and out of the program, I was mainly in than what I was out. And when I was out, I wasn't out for very long. I was mainly in. But there was a lot of deaths. There's a lot of deaths that brought me up into recovery, but there was a lot of deaths while I was in recovery as well. I had a brother-in-law commit suicide. That was a tough one. That was a tough one. You know, right before my brother-in-law had committed suicide, I had my very first cousin, a first cousin of mine. He was killed in a car accident, and I had went back home to my hometown, and I spent a week with my family, and I spent a week with, you know, doing funeral arrangements and, you know, seeing the funeral director and whatnot, and I go home. I'm home for one day. One day. I was in the process of getting a divorce from my husband, and I get a phone call, and he tells me that his youngest brother had committed suicide, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, I don't like to play favorites by no means, but I was very close to this brother-in-law. I was very close to him. I absolutely adored him. I loved him. I loved all of my brother-in-laws like they were my own brothers, and I still do to this day. When I see the remainder of them that are still alive, even though I am no longer married to their eldest brother, I still see them as though they are part of my family. They are my children's uncles to this day, and I have the utmost respect for them. You know, and so when my brother-in-law committed suicide, that was extremely hard for me. It was very hard for me. At the time, I was in and out of the program. Sometimes while I was in the program, there would be times I would be on the marijuana maintenance program, you know, and there's people out there that have their opinion about the marijuana maintenance program, and I had mine, you know, so I tell you this only because it's true, only because it's my experience. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to tell you whether or not what you're doing or not doing is something you should or shouldn't be doing. This is your road to recovery. You're the one that needs to pave it, and you're the one that has to decide what's going to work for you and what isn't. At one point, that marijuana maintenance program quit working for me, and in time, it would always lead me back to the drinking. So during this one particular time, I am working the marijuana weight maintenance program. It is preventing me from drinking, which was my drug of choice, and which was the part that I struggled with the hardest. And my brother-in-law comes to me, and I will never forget it. It was the month of August. He's getting ready to go back to college. Well, he's getting ready to leave for college. And he tells me, I'm doing dishes, my back is towards him, and he tells me, if my life doesn't change, I'm just going to kill myself. And I spin around. And he's got this smile on his face. And so I kind of like backed down a little bit because, you know, at first my heart like sunk. And I got a little angry because I have my own brother committed suicide. My very own brother. You know, and now I'm listening to this young boy tell me he is. You know, if my life doesn't get any better, I'm just going to kill myself. You know, and when I heard that, you know, I got kind of angry. And so I spin around and I see him smiling. So I kind of back down. And he's like, I'm just kidding. Oh, let me tell you, a lot of years went by where I wholeheartedly wished I would have told somebody. but he convinced me that he was just kidding. He convinced me he was only speaking out of frustration. He talked to me about some of the things that he was frustrated about. I finished up my dishes. I sat down with him. I sparked up a bowl with him. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that. But I did. And he left. He went back to college. That was the last time I had seen him. So I take that back. I seen him one more time. I take that back. He came down and visited, and his brother and I were getting a little bit closer to our divorce, and I had moved into a brand new massage office. I was a massage therapist at the time, and I'd moved into a brand new massage office, so he wanted to go see it. So I took him and his girlfriend. My ex-husband was along, and we all went up there, and we all looked at my massage office, and one of my other brother-in-laws was along as well. And and the brother-in-law that had committed suicide, when we were up to the massage office, he had asked me, he said, so are you really going to divorce him? Is there like no way you can work things out with him? And I'm like, no, it's done. And he was just like, damn, the family's never going to be the same again. Not without you. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but you can always come over. You can still visit. We can still be friends. And it wasn't very much longer after that he committed suicide. And I don't believe that that had anything to do with the reason why he did. I think a lot was compiling on top of him from the time he was getting ready to go back to school in August. And then now this was, I do believe this was in January. And then in February is when he committed suicide. So I returned back to my hometown with the same funeral directors, and they're just like, oh my God, you're back again? Yeah. And so I got to know the funeral. Well, I knew the funeral directors anyway. Unfortunately, I had a lot of friends and family that I had to deal with those funeral directors with throughout the course of my life and throughout recovery. And, so funerals and death and dying is nothing new to me. By no means. But it doesn't make it any easier. So here I sit, 8.5 years, and one of our own, sorry about my throat, one of our own, Friday we'll find out more details. We'll find out what stage, what type of treatment we're going to be looking at for them, and when it's all going to start. So, and in addition to that, there's so many other things that are going on. The house I've been living in for 10 and a half, 11 years, we're selling it. We're selling it. We're moving, relocating to a whole nother state, picking up our business and hightailing to a whole nother state. I don't even know how to feel about that. I have a whole lot of stuff going on right now, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But you know what? I'm still 100% grateful to be clean and sober today. I really am, because even though I have some various emotions that are bubbling up and I sometimes don't know what to do with them, even today, I definitely know what it would be like if I were to be drinking or using through them. They would be 100 times worse, and that is what I don't want anymore. I don't want that anymore. My worst day sober is 100 times better than my best day drunk. Definitely. So I will be grateful every day that I'm sober. And I will be grateful for what is handed to me every single day, that I am given another day to be clean and sober. And I will do it with a grateful heart. You know, one of the things that I try to do every single day is to remind myself that I am not perfect. I'm not perfect. And, you know, when I first came into the program, I made so many mistakes throughout the course of my life, like so many. I tried so hard to be everything to everybody that sometimes that included being perfect, that when I came into the program, I didn't allow myself room to make mistakes. So when I made those mistakes, I really came down hard on myself for it, and I didn't allow myself to have any room for error. You know, and today I allow myself that room for error. I'm able to laugh at myself when I make those mistakes, and I most definitely don't expect myself to do everything perfectly anymore. You know, and that alone takes a lot of pressure off of me when it comes to living a life of recovery. You know, recovery isn't so much as just putting the plug in the jug, because drinking is just a symptom of the underlying problem. The underlying problem is the insanity of the addiction. Step one is admitting we are powerless over alcoholism and that our lives had become unmanageable. I struggled with that because I didn't want to give up that alcohol. And in my mind, my life wasn't unmanageable. Heck no, it might have been a little crazy, but it wasn't unmanageable. It took me a long time. A long time. Like, I was very, very stubborn, very bullheaded. And, you know, and I'm so glad that even throughout the course of those 10 years and the multiple relapses, you know, I used to call myself a chronic relapser, you know, 30 days drunk, 60 days drunk, 90 days drunk, 6 months drunk, 9 months drunk, you know, marijuana maintenance program, back to drinking. Marijuana maintenance program, back to drinking. Pill popping, back to drinking. Marijuana maintenance, you know, what a vicious cycle. And I kept doing this over and over and over and over. And finally, one day, I was just like, you know what? I am tired of this. I am tired. Because everything I do, I keep winding back in the exact same spot. I'm on a sit and spin. And I keep spinning and I keep going around and around and I'm not getting anywhere. I keep winding up in the exact same spot as where I was. You know, and finally one day somebody said, hey, Flawed and Happy, why don't you try doing it chemical-free ones? Wow, what a concept. Okay. Why don't you try working the program once? You mean all 12 steps? In a row? Okay. You know, I finally hit it. I finally hit an emotional bottom that was hard enough for me that it gave me the motivation to be able to dive into those 12 steps and to work them in order. And not just pick and choose the ones I wanted to do and ignore the ones I didn't. So that was the start. That was the start. Deciding to be chemical free. You know, give up all the chemicals. Any type of mood altering chemicals that were going to change the way my mood was going to be. You know, and just like allow myself to feel, allow myself to just embrace, go through, feel, work with people, and to truly work the steps. By the time I came out the other end, I had over a year of consecutive recovery. Pretty awesome, huh? A lot of stuff happened in between that. We'll get into all that. Holy cow. It was one hell of a ride. I'll tell you what, those 10 years was one hell of a ride, and it was one hell of a ride getting there too. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. And I actually got like 4 hours already recorded or maybe it's 5. I don't even know. I don't even know how much of it I can use. I don't know. I want to try to protect some people. Because it's not about shaming them. But it is my story. And, you know, and I'm really struggling with the idea of, you know, I honestly believe if you don't want people to know the way you treat people, well, then you better be treating people good. Because if you treat somebody bad, that person has every right to tell whoever they want how you treated them. It's the truth, right? As long as people are telling the truth, it's the truth. And I believe that. So we'll see. All right, Flawed and Happy, thanks for tuning in. This is the start of the recovery series, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, here we go. So I got just a little over 8.5 years. August 23rd, 2010 was my official start date. Happens to be my best friend's birthday, and she happened to be the one that took me to my very first meeting at the age of 16 when I told her I wasn't an alcoholic. She said she was. She ended our friendship with just over a year of recovery. I got to see her one more time before she was killed in a car accident. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have known that there was some place to go when the time came when I was 21. At 16 years old, she set up the pavement, the start of saving my life. God, I love that woman. All right, thanks for tuning in. Flawed and Happy. Bye.